Welcome, everybody. This is the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley. Every week, we bring you the stories of people who are making the world better, locally, globally, and digitally. We're part of Rotary International, 1.2 million people in 36,000 clubs around the world, all dedicated to the idea of service above self. If you've ever thought to yourself, that sounds like a good organization to be part of, first, you'd be right. And second, you'd want to learn more, and you can do so by going to rotary.org, rotary.org. Or you might think that, hey, that online, asynchronous, and highly flexible club that is the Rotary E-Club of Silicon Valley would be a cool one to learn about. To do that, go to rotary.cool. There you go. Our program today is a wonderful mixture of entrepreneurship, innovation, and education. And I am going to hand it over to past president Nick Lagarde for the introduction and the running of today's recording.
Hi, everyone. I am excited to bring Brian and Amir from REM5 Studios to the conversation today. I got a direct experience with the product that they put out at the latest Rotary Convention in June, and I had to reach out. This is something that is using technology to give an experience is something that I love and cherish, and it's something that I am excited to learn more about today. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Brian to tell us all about it.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Nick and Rushton, and everyone else for joining us today and for having us along to share with you some of the really exciting work that we've been doing, especially focusing on how do you use these immersive technologies to really build advocacy and also dial into some fundraising as well. I'm Brian Skalak. I've been with REM5 coming up on about 6 years now. I've been up to some really exciting stuff. We also have Amir on the call as well. Amir, if you want to say hi.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having us today.
Here's the founder and CEO of REM5 Studios. But kind of on today, I'm going to try to jump through some stuff pretty quick here so we can get to Q&A and kind of dive a little bit deeper into some of the questions that you might have. But hopefully this will be a nice overview into what we've been up to and help spark some ideas that we can kind of get into. So REM5 Studios was started back in 2017, really with the belief that these technologies are a great and profound learning tool. But we had to kind of take this full service approach to make it accessible, right? Kind of be an end-to-end provider so that we made it really easy to utilize and also provide a lot of value. And at the end of the day, the goal really is to make the technologies that we're utilizing fade into the background so that you can focus on the actual substance at hand, the stories, and actually diving into the purpose that we're utilizing them for. So since 2017, we've worked across a number of sectors and a number of great businesses that you can see down here, and personally put over 125,000 people through VR, and a majority of those being first-time users at events. So kind of a little bit of a quick background. So for the past 2 years, we've been working pretty hand in hand with our partners over at the Gates Foundation, and more specifically their Polio comms team. So a big part of the why use immersive technology is really coming back to this strategy guide from the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, of which both the Gates Foundation and Rotary are very crucial parts of. And one of their top goals is really building political advocacy. So coming back, we really think about, polio's been kind of forgotten. We have a quote here from our partners at the Gates Foundation, and how can immersive technology really help re-energize and rebuild and be part of the solution for the communication team? So back in early 2023 was when we were first starting to build out have these first conversations and kind of planning this phase one approach. And then fast forward to October, we're on the ground in Zambia, embedding ourselves with teams, going door to door as part of one of their national polio vaccination campaigns, and documenting and capturing that experience along the way. This footage and experience was turned into our first project with the Gates Foundation called Polio's Last Mile. It's an immersive and interactive mixed reality experience that's just under 10 minutes long. And really the point here was to democratize that experience that we had on the ground in Zambia and be able to bring that to folks all across the world through the power of the VR headset and that technology that we were utilizing. And the focus here too is like, how do we bring someone to the front lines of eradication so that they can see and feel for themselves what's going on and have better context to see what it all takes to pull off these efforts. So that's October of 23. Fast forward to Singapore of 2024. We've been invited to showcase this and really launch this event to the public at the Rotary Convention in Singapore that year. So we had over 1,500 participants with us over the course of 5 days. We're kind of just like in Calgary, a hot item at the convention. And what was really cool is we were able to survey folks to see what are they actually getting out of this experience, right? So 89% reported having an enriched learning experience because of the technology. 88% were more motivated to personally support polio eradication efforts. And 90% of them said that they would like to use more VR in the future. So pretty substantial data that we were able to get from that. And so using that as a real launching point, we were able to build a lot of momentum and actually showcase Polio's Last Mile all around the world, both with ourselves and partners. This actually includes 2 Rotary events that we did, one with our local chapter here in St. Louis Park, Minnesota, and then also teaming up to bring headsets to one of the Georgia district events as well. So getting a lot of mileage out of this program, and as you'll kind of see with a theme here is making it accessible and getting utilization out of it. We've built it, now we want to put it to work. So some of the events we've been able to also plug into have been global health events, but have also been on the sidelines of the World Bank meetings in DC, partnering with teams over in Doha, being at events that are part of the United Nations General Assembly, and also going to New York with partnering with Global Citizen, Berlin, and Thailand. So very global appeal, and again, really being able to get the most out of having this experience and being able to utilize it. So this really comes back to kind of this core tenet, which is like accessibility and impact, right? So how do we build that into the project from the get-go, knowing that that's how we want to utilize it? So like you saw in Singapore, we show up with all of our headsets and gear. We do the experience turnkey, super efficient. And then also finding ways to train in partners all across the globe and ship headsets where they need to go that, we can't be in too many places at once. And so that's been another great way to really spread the utilization and make sure it's building impact no matter where the event is across the planet. We've also been able to build it into multiple languages and build in these bespoke intro and outros that can really tie into a call to action that's very specific to the audience and to the event that it's being shown at. One other channel that's really near and dear to our hearts is education, specifically some of our local K-12 schools. We've been doing a couple partnerships with them and actually showed both of our VR experiences to them just this past spring. And had some really great increases in their education and knowledge around both polio and interest in global health. So we were seeing actually a 4x boost from before and after utilizing these experiences. And then there's a number of other channels too. Kind of at the end of the day, events of all types are looking for better experiences, better content to be showing, no matter if that's global health, a Rotary event, or anything in between. We found that these experiences can really tie in and kind of add a lot of value no matter what. And then also, since we are on the Silicon Valley call here, you may be familiar that Apple also released their Apple Vision Pro. And so we went and took the Polio's Last Mile experience and kind of rebuilt that for that ecosystem, as Apple and its users are really looking for kind of a more mature immersive video type experience on that platform. And it's been welcomed really great, both in the ecosystem for the users and by Apple itself, featuring it on their homepage. So kind of with all this success and momentum from Polio's Last Mile, we got the green light to build out the second follow-up chapter, right? So what's the next story that we want to tell? And that took us to the Democratic Republic of Congo to showcase more routine, kind of always-on immunization, but to the hardest to reach people, right? And so how are we showcasing and helping close those gaps between immunization in these very hard to reach countries? Sorry, hard to reach communities. And so I think I've shared the audio, so let me know if that comes through, but I kind of wanted to show a quick trailer about how this experience was, slightly different than Polio's Last Mile.
Wherever I'm sent for this work, I will go.
Meet Kasongo, a health worker in the Democratic Republic of the Congo on a critical mission, delivering life-saving vaccines to the most remote communities on Earth. Immersive video and interactive mixed reality bring you closer than ever to both the struggle and the hope on the front lines of global health. Join Kasongo as he battles impassable terrain and unpredictable weather to reach resilient mothers determined to shield their children from polio and other preventable diseases. His journey holds the fragile line between containing an outbreak and a catastrophe that could ripple across the world. This is an invitation to understand what it takes to ensure no child is left behind. This is the promise of Apporter la vie.
So as Nick said, he was able to see this firsthand, but hopefully this gives you a little bit of a flavor of kind of how we approach that. So where PLM was door to door in a big, metro area of Lusaka, Zambia, this was going out to the farthest regions of the DRC to kind of figure out, show how far the vaccines have to go to kind of reach their final communities. So a big part of this project in particular was for it to be shown in Kinshasa, the capital city, at the Presidential Forum on Vaccination. Unfortunately, during this time in February, it was kind of unstable in the area. And so due to some security concerns, we weren't actually able to go ourselves. However, coming back to kind of our previous notes, we were able to get headsets there, train in a team on the ground, and still showcase this experience kind of at the big event that it was made for. So that was good that we were able to still make that happen. So kind of coming full circle, just like we kicked off Polio's Last Mile in Singapore, we came to Calgary to showcase this experience, to get it in front of 1,500 plus Rotarians again, and really kick off kind of this new chapter in a new piece of content that we'll be showing. We were actually given 4 times the space in Calgary, and so we were able to build out a more robust experience and a journey that kind of tied in even beyond just the in-headset. And we'll take this quote from Carol Pandick, the director of Rotary's Polio Eradication Program. She was just saying that this is the best that polio had ever been represented at a convention, and so we'll take that and agree. It was a great way to kind of connect with Rotarians of all backgrounds and all locations. So kind of talking about that larger footprint, we were able to have the VR experience as a core tenant, but also build this more wrapped journey that had a bunch of touch points around it. So we had some augmented reality that you could utilize just on your mobile device. We also had some historical posters that we kind of wallpapered across the back wall. They were a really cool touch point for folks. And then also the really big thing too is we had some folks from both the Gates Foundation and from our partners at GHS that were polio experts, so they could actually continue the conversation and take questions and kind of build beyond, once folks are out of headset, how do you take that conversation further? How do you help drive people towards how they can take action? So similar to Singapore, we also ran a survey. We had folks from all around the globe, which is a Rotary Convention is kind of one of the only places you can really get that wide of respondents, which is great. And the big thing too is that people think that VR can be for kids, it's for gamers, it's not an educational experience, it's not for an older audience. But Rotarians will tell you completely different. That our average age was, I think, around 59, and they couldn't be more hungry to utilize this technology and to have these experiences, which is really great to see and help kind of debunk some of those stereotypes around the technology. So a couple kind of like highlight stats from this event. We had nearly 99% reporting a memorable and emotional connection to the initiatives. nearly 93% saying that their commitment would be increased personally to supporting immunization efforts. And then about 88% felt motivated to take immediate action to support immunization efforts. So in Calgary, we were really close to the End Polio Now booth, so we were able to send people directly there. A lot of folks would come out of headset and be like, I wish you had a donation bucket right now. I would like put money into it. So we were more so partnered with them, but that was just like a great thing to hear that they were immediately ready to kind of, help contribute or help drive that impact. A couple more quotes just from folks really talking about how moving and inspiring it was. A big thing we would hear is that they were there firsthand. They saw it firsthand. So, going there is one thing, but there's a lot of different factors that make that not as possible these days. So being able to take someone there in 10 minutes and show them on the front lines gives them a very close resemblance of being there. And another quick quote, amazing use of the tech to bring an important issue to us, much better than just reading an article or statistics. It was both personal and emotional. So it kind of helps drive that home of kind of why utilize VR. So kind of what's next for us, right? The big thing is, as Rotarians, we want to make sure that everyone knows that these experiences are available for you to utilize in a couple different ways. And we also want to help kind of create and find ways that we can be outside of just the global health space and be working with industry partners as well to bring these experiences at scale. So we've had a lot of great conversations with both zone institutes and other district activations, right? How do we go beyond just being at convention and actually helping distribute this more across Rotary broadly? We've got some more global travel with GPEI partners coming up. Of course, we have some global health. We have a kind of a network of headsets out in the field, both in like South Africa, Geneva. So we've been starting to plant and build, again, easy, accessible ways for other partners to have headsets and take them to the events that are important to them. And then lastly, it's really about kind of, we built out this playbook where both the hardware and the software can come together to tell any story that you have. So right outside of just polio and some of the partners we've worked with, I think we'd love to have conversations with you all and the different industries that you work with to see how could this make sense to bring different stories to life. So kind of with that, I know we sped through a bunch of stuff, but hopefully a lot of good questions and some stuff we can talk about. But I wanted to keep it really high level and kind of just give our story of the last, especially like 2 years, and really excited for where this technology has come and how we've been able to deploy it and inspire the rest of you as well to find ways to utilize it too. So thank you so much.
Excellent, Brian. I really appreciate it, and this really gave a real snippet, which it's hard in just a few minutes to cover that off. Go ahead and stop sharing your screen, and what I'll do is I'll transition and introduce everybody on the call, and then we'll get into that Q&A. So welcoming from our club, we have some new members and some tenured members. Myself, I am based out of Vancouver, British Columbia. We've got Rushton in California, Skalak also in California, Cecilia in Italy, Steve in England, friend of the club, Chris in Canada, friend of the club, Victoria in Hungary. Thank you all for joining us. My first question is the technology and like how you got to this. Like I know Amir, you're on the call, Brian, you're on the call. Like, how did this become the thing? Because I think that I imagine that you're doing more than just the in that awareness for polio space. How did you come from recognizing this is an opportunity and bringing it to this wonderful space?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let Amir jump in for some of the historical context as well, but kind of even going back to our roots, not as much mentioned in this deck, but we actually had an entertainment facility, right? So we had 8,000 square feet. We had first generation VR headsets that required a computer. They required a lot of space. They required a lot of hands-on help, but it was a great way for us to get first-time users into experiences, connect with business leaders and find out where their pain points were in utilizing the technology, and really just serve as an actual laboratory for us to understand best principles for putting these experiences together. So fast forward to now, that headset that was $10,000 and connected to a large computer has turned into the headsets that you saw in the photos from Calgary, where we can put 36 of them in suitcases and travel around the world, open them up and be ready to go. So like there's been a big shift in the hardware that has made it possible in these last 24 months, especially to do things that weren't conceivable 7, 8 years ago. And Amir can speak to it as well, is that there was a lot of hopes for VR, but it was just kind of too early to be doing it at scale like we have been at conventions. So the stars have aligned in a number of ways that have just made this possible for us to kind of connect these dots.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think real quick, I'll jump in. I mean, I think that if I think back to my first time putting on a modern VR headset was 2016, and kind of what I became obsessed with was this whole thesis of being able to democratize experiences and combining that with experiential learning theory. You have yourself the most powerful learning tool, right? Learn by doing, right? So for those of us that anyone remember the Magic School Bus?
Oh, yes.
Right. So the concept of the Magic School Bus is not a new one. It's been around for a very, very long time. But what finally happened is the tech caught up to those aspirations. And now it's like, holy crap, we have the Magic School Bus. How can we leverage this tool? And so in 2017, admittedly, when we started, it wasn't quite yet there, but you could see at least a path to it being accessible. And then fast forward to today, it's like we can fly around the world with suitcases full of Magic School Buses and transport people to Zambia and the DRC. So, but this thesis applies to a bunch of other things as well. Like we do a bunch of work with other nonprofits, all the way to for-profit companies. Like we do work with a cheese company that they're a really high-end cheese company and they want to tell their farm to table story, right? How do we get a user or a buyer to go and meet Joe the farmer and understand kind of that process? So that same theory of democratizing experiences really applies in any sector. And learning and development is just something that like I've always been really passionate about because I didn't fit in like the cookie cutter school system that we have. And so like how do you break that apart? Like I want to go do something, and realizing that doing something isn't always accessible for 99% of people. And so this tool can start to bridge that gap.
Amazing. Thank you. And I'm curious about the development of it because there's so many stories out there today that you might want to tell. What is the development like when you think about going and delivering life, and you think about the idea of the next story you're going to create? What kind of scale does it need to have? Because I can imagine that it's still a massive undertaking to produce this.
Yeah, I mean, if every day the tools are getting easier to use, and it's becoming more efficient, and the cameras are becoming less painful to use, the dev cycle is becoming less time and energy consuming. So there's still a lot of kinks we have to work out, but I mean, think of what YouTube has done for learning and development, right? Like I want to learn how to fix, I'm trying to fix my dishwasher the other day. Where do I go? The first thing I go is I go to YouTube, right? In the future, you're going to go to an immersive, interactive environment to learn how to do that, right? It's just a matter of time before. So like we'll get there eventually. For us in particular as a business, kind of the first slide that Brian showed, for us to be able to do our work, we need to connect the dots from the beginning to the end of the cycle, if that makes sense. So we need to have almost like a built-in audience, like the International Rotary Convention. And so that's where we're finding the most opportunities. We're not necessarily, there's almost too many ideas of content to make. And we're trying to focus in on where do we know we have a built-in audience where we can drive impact and change and ROI on this, and then almost working backwards from there.
Awesome. That makes a lot of sense because there is the I think Cecilia asked in the questions about how we would love to help make that impact, and it ties to a question that Victoria asked, which is like how do you tie this to fundraising? Because to bring that experience, my experience had me think wow when I was in Calgary and feeling and experiencing that, and I really I didn't even connect until you were just presenting it, Brian, that I walked through all of that and you don't even notice, but you are stepping through all six parts of that. And that was very impressive. How do you see it as a do you see it as something that especially, you have to run your business and be have it be successful. Do you see it coming down to a point where you're able to create this for a smaller project or organization that's doing, you know, you compare the Rotary Foundation's big push, where obviously from an ending polio and the massive infrastructure that's behind that with Gates Foundation, to the small organization that might only have I think Cecilia, was thinking about a 60 to $80,000 space.
Totally. And that's where we're going to, because we obviously would love to. We get phone for the last decade. The most painful part of our work is that we get so many phone calls with great people and great ideas. And then it's like, okay, how do we actually pull this off? Right. And we want to say yes to everything. And so in the background, we're building all those tools to make this more and more efficient, along with a bunch of other brilliant tech people around the world. I mean, everyone's kind of chasing the similar goal and have been for a decade. Um, there's a reason Meta has burned like $60 billion over the last decade on building, and that's not an exaggeration. That's the actual number. Um, and that's really driving costs down, right? I mean, the fact that we have a $500 or $300 headset now that has full 6 degrees of freedom, room tracking, hand tracking, is pretty amazing, but it still needs to go. It still needs to go lower.
Yeah. Rushton, you have a question.
Absolutely. So exciting to see this kind of material out there and being used and being tracked as well. For the lower end organizational user, so I'm imagining a club or a school, what would they need to do to be able to take advantage of what you've created in the most cost-effective way possible? So if a school said, "Hey, we have this, and this in place," um, can you send us the devices to do it? Is there a training involved? What is kind of the starter point for a customer essentially being able to work
Mhm.
with you given the model that you've got at the moment?
Yeah, that's a great and very timely question. We're working on some of those materials right now, but a couple examples could be one, the applications themselves are publicly available for free on the Quest App Store. So just like you would download a free phone app, you can search for these, and if you have a headset already, or if you have a fleet and you're at a school, boom, you can download them all, use them for free. We love that. There's no strings attached, right? That's the whole purpose of it. Secondly, I'm working with Craig, who's out of Ohio right now, one of the Rotary clubs out there. We connected after Calgary, and he's like, "Hey, I want to buy a couple headsets to start investing in having these available, both for a big upcoming event and to be kind of a regional source for sharing these and he has them. He can now be the point person for helping facilitate these VR experiences. So we're working together right now. I have kind of a list of, hey, here's what you need to put together the headsets that we use that are going to be the most comfortable and give the best experience. You go out and buy all those. You set up your login. You're now trained in yourself basically by doing the task. Download the experiences and you're off and running to show them at your upcoming event. And we're working hand in hand to we've got some training materials. We can help walk them through the experience. So we're very available, but we're trying to also set up that hey, yeah, these structures exist to empower clubs to kind of take it on themselves. And then kind of that third category that we've done a couple times where it's we can, if there's a lot of clubs and zone institutes and district events are finding ways to then sponsor even our team to come out and deploy stuff firsthand, like at Calgary, but can be on a smaller scale. Call it, usually about 400 people is kind of what we're hearing for some of these events. So a lot of different options to make it happen, and we love to have those conversations and continue to refine these avenues that make it just really easy for folks to know the path forward, basically.
At its simplest level, the with us working with the Gates Foundation and GPEI, it's a little bit unique in that all of our stuff is just public and free as it relates to these projects. So think of it is it's you have an app store on a iPhone, right? And we just have a free app that's out there. So the hardest part right now is just getting you the phone, right?
Yep.
And that would have sounded abstract 15 years ago, having a conversation about, hey, we have this supercomputer in your pocket that has an app store and you just go download it, right? But now it's the norm. So think of we're just in the early curve for the next generation of computing.
And one last question for me, and then I'll do the wrap up, which is just from it, as you see it going, is there something you're particularly excited about with the evolution that, because you've obviously seen a ton of change, just like you were saying. Is there a next thing that you're excited about that is on that tip that we might not be seeing yet?
Oh, it depends on how deep down the rabbit hole you want to go, Nick. Yeah, I mean, for us, I mean, we believe that this is the next way in which you'll interact with computers, like the hardware. Like your phone is just going to stay in your pocket for longer, and this is just the next evolution, right? I'm wearing AirPods now, and you got maybe have a smartwatch that's sending you data, right? Again, back to the phone example, like it would have sounded crazy if we were on this call, or you probably can go back to to history and look at, meetings in the 90s, right? What were you all talking about? You certainly weren't on a video chat like this. But well, maybe you were. Um, but the concept of having a supercomputer in your pocket in which you consumed the vast majority of data and content and information, and that was your main social interaction point, was very abstract. And so I think that's where we're going with this technology. And I think the ability to tell stories and connect people and drive empathy at the end of the day is going to reach a new level. And I'm kind of the eternal optimist where I want to continue to use this for good. But we also recognize that there's a ton of other, ethical considerations as we move towards this more immersive delivery of media, and who's telling those stories and why. What are their motives? So there's some big, as a social construct, we have a lot of decisions to make over the next decade here.
That is super exciting, and that is one of the reasons I'm at our club, because of the opportunity to talk about this kind of technology. I'm going to wind it down from here, and then we'll hand it back to our speaker for a final word. Um, just want to say that thank you everyone who is listening on the YouTube, on our website for the weekly meeting, and on our podcast. You can always reach us at rotary.cool, and we are bringing speakers like this every week. So definitely listen in to all of those. With that, I do want to hand it back to Brian and Amir for your final word. Thank you for taking the time, and Brian, take it away.
Awesome. I'm just actually going to put my email in the chat. The biggest thing is
Thank
you
you.
can, reach out to us directly, right? There's a lot of questions, there's a lot of nuances, and the first place is really just kind of continuing that conversation. You go, hey, I work for XYZ company. Here are some of our initiatives. What can we make happen? And we love having those conversations. And then also on the other side, I'm in, this Rotary district. We have an event coming up. How can we bring Polio Last Mile or Apporter La Vie to our event? So biggest thing at the end of the day is reach out. We want to be a sounding board. We want to learn more about what you're running into and what communications problems you're trying to solve. And we've got a lot of experience and got a lot of real world experience working with real world people. So even though we're on the Silicon Valley call here, I mean, the majority of our users and really people in general are first time to VR, and we've got a lot of interesting ways of making this just work and be super accessible. So appreciate the time. I don't know if Mir has any last words as well.
No, great. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
So.